Hi guys, my name is Dante, and welcome back to Overpain. Why am I talking like this? I don't know, but it's fine. Anyway, today's patient is Leisha Jones. Hi Leisha. Hey Boro. Hi Leisha. I found your channel last year and I could never stop watching ever since. You've helped me learn a lot about digital painting, so I thought I could try and give something back. This is something I started a couple of years ago before your channel and I never felt like finishing it. It's supposed to be the Vocaloid Dana. Let's look her up. I see, so this is what she looks like. If you're old, Vocaloids are these kind of like three-dimensional virtual personalities that are like singing around. I think this whole thing comes from Japan, of course. So she's like one of the Gorilla's characters, something like that, but not really. So yeah, it's supposed to be the Vocaloid Dana laying in a bed of daisies, but there are obviously none in the picture. I was inspired by the song Pushing Daisies, which is also sung by her. Oh, I see. But I haven't really had the motivation to finish this picture. Every time I try to, I end up adjusting what's already there instead of drawing anything new. Oh, that's yeah, probably a very common thing to do, right? It's really hard to add something, especially when you have such a finalized stage of whatever you have already, because of all the edges, the silhouettes. They're too defined. I would love to see what you can do for it in Overpain. Love ya. Postscriptum. I could also give you the PSD if you want. No, that's okay, because one thing we have to do first, since we're here on my channel, we're gonna do sort of my approach, right? We're gonna destroy all the edges, so no need in actual layers. Alright, let's think about this. So yeah, one thing you may be expecting from me is that I'm not really good at drawing just cool girls. I never practiced that. I don't think I even practiced cool dudes, not to mention dudettes. So yeah, I may mess up something, so I'm sorry in advance for that. But what I can do is to bring this picture to somewhat of a more pleasing presentation. Right now we really need to concentrate on how to make big changes on this picture in order to make it look like a finished pleasure to the eye. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is of course the composition, because that's one thing you want to change before going into any detail. So how about we rotate it a little bit like this? I feel like it's gonna be more satisfying to my taste. So yeah, that's a good thing to start with, I think. Kinda feels better to me. I don't know, what do you guys think? So aside from that, the whole pose, I don't see any problems with that, in a sense that this is a very, not to say typical, but like a classic kind of way to present the kind of character this is. This is very anime kind of thing to do. So she's laying on the field of daisies. Let's add those in a moment, but first, let's talk about this belly button because it's killing me. I think if these are the bones of the pelvis, the belly button should be higher, like over here, maybe a bit lower. Yeah, I think it should be much higher. It immediately felt wrong to me when I saw it. I think what happened was, Leisha was making a really sexy kind of position for the belt of these pants, but then she thought like, okay, come on, we're really close to the dangerous area, we need to lower it visually. So that's why we ended up having the belly button so crazy low. So there's like a bit of an inconsistency in the anatomy going on or something like this. I'm assuming all this, of course, because I've been there, I've done this kind of stuff a lot. So I'm gonna keep it here. I think I'm gonna just raise the level of the belt a bit higher. Well, at least because it's Women's History Month. Alright, this feels a bit more respectful. So we're gonna have both the properly positioned belly button and decency. Now, about the hand and these little spikes of hair coming through the edge of the hand right here, I think this was like just a mistake. This was supposed to be covered up afterwards, or maybe the layer with these details of hair was supposed to be underneath the layer of the hand, but we ended up not having it in the proper order, so now the edges of these strokes are on top of the hand, so yeah, we're gonna remove that, obviously. Alright, feels a bit better already. Sorry I already removed the signature, but we're gonna have a lot of daisies all over the place soon anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna add some shadows of kind of a lowered contrast of this kind of fashion all over the character, and what I want to do is to make the lighting a bit different. Right here on the pants specifically, and on all the rest of the objects is the same way as well, but pants for some reason have a much stronger contrast. Maybe because the material is like that. But the thing is that lighting is like specifically from the top. Only the middle portions of the objects are lit brightly everywhere, very specifically, and then we have really strong shading on the edges. And because of that, it kind of feels like she's not in the field, but she's like on the operating table or something, and the bright light is lighting her up directly from the top, and everything else is dark on the edges. So I think I'm gonna move the lighting a bit to the side. Maybe it's gonna be a bit from this direction, but a little bit, like mostly from the top, but a little bit like that. And yeah, we'll see where it goes, but for now, this is what I want to say. And also, I'll drop some bass for the Field of Daisies, and we'll see how that'll go. So let's start doing these things. Alright, so this is what we've got so far. I went through the whole picture and changed the rendering of the light to the sideways one. Removed the highlights from the hair because it felt like crazily strong. The hair like almost reaches white color in the shining, like it's not made of metal. It's not a good idea to make it like such a bright thing. Much better to pretty much grab the color and make it brighter, but not push it towards white completely, a bit like this. And if this would be the color of the highlight, it would look much more natural. Mostly that works better due to the fact that we're working with creating small details with big media, meaning in one stroke, we actually imply that there are like maybe dozens or even more hairs together, creating a shining and at the same time a shadow as well somewhere, and one stroke is much bigger than all these tiny hairs. So the color of the stroke shouldn't be a color of 100% highlight. It should include some of the really bright highlight and some of the really dark shadows of those hairs in between. And when we blend all of these together into one stroke, we get not that much of a bright stroke in the end. So that's why you should avoid having like a pure color of the highlight on something really complex like the hair, because there's so many tiny surfaces in there. There's no pure highlight inside of just one stroke. There's always highlights plus shadows blended together. Better going with more of a subtle color. And I added some highlights in here. I replaced them dramatically just because I changed the position of the light. So yeah, not sure exactly what I was doing this whole time, but it was kind of fun. I rendered the face a little bit, making it shiny. It kind of looks a bit like a doll now, like in a good way, if that makes sense. I don't know, I like it. Looks really nice. This shadow from the nose with a really soft gradient from the darker surface of this side of the nose blending into the actual shadow that has a really soft edge. So yeah, some highlights here and there. Changed the gradient on the eyes due to the fact that the light source is there, so the whole effect of the lens of the eye has this inverting effect. You know how things go. Everyone knows everything. So yeah, actually trying trying to bring back some of the edges here and there, the actual line art. Like in here a little bit, feels like a good way to just maintain things. Maybe sometimes blending it into some kind of a sharp shadow, but generally kind of like a fusion of different styles. That's what I'm pretty much doing here. In here, brought back the line. Yeah, changed the anatomy, the proportions or something of the hips, the pelvis. It felt a bit kind of like non-symmetrical, so I added some mass on this side and smoothed out stuff in here so it would feel a bit less weird. It's kind of actually just a pose like that, but I don't know, it feels like this is a bit more natural due to the fact that legs are this way. I don't know, just decided to show a bit of a curve to have a nicer look here. In this area next to the hand, like all of this area, there's the shadow from this arm that's raised. It's creating like a shadow like this. So that's the point of this spot right here. So yeah, now let's quickly go through the background, add the daisies and some grass, I don't know, to make the scene look nice and interesting. And that'll be it. Let's add daisies. How will we do that? I'll grab the color of the base, because like, since everything is green, I'm gonna use like green ambience. So white is gonna be actually a really bright green, a warmer one as well. So yeah, this is pretty much white for this picture, at least as a base, maybe even darker and more saturated as a base. So we'll start with just white spots like this everywhere, then we'll add the yellow center, and then we'll move on with shading every detail of the flowers. So yeah, that's the plan. I'll add a lot of grass sticking out like this and sort of covering the character here and there. So yeah, it's gonna look cool. Let's start finishing this. Okay, done. So this is what we have in the end. Let's go through how I implemented the whole daisy thing. So at first we added these spots, then I started adding just soft shadows to the bottom left from each spot, following the whole direction of the lighting. And then on top of these shadows, I started adding some details of the grass like this with the initial color of the grass. So that was the base. Then I also added some indents in every spot of the future daisy to create kind of like a more of a star looking base spot, on top of which afterwards I added really bright spots of the actual leaves. So the initial color was like this. It was close to white, but it had a lot of green into it due to the whole ambience. So this was basically the shadow color of the white leaves. And then moving to the bright area of the leaves, we're much more in the yellow area of the color, because now leaves are catching a lot of sunlight and they're much closer to the actual white color in brightness. So I added these just quick one stroke spots, creating this basic shape of the leaf with a messy brush that changes angle with every stroke, so it looks natural and nice. Then the same way I added kind of like a double spot like this inside of each flower to create the core, and then added a little bit of spot of the brighter and yellower color to create some kind of shading. And yeah, then I added even brighter grass by moving it also closer to yellow and making it brighter and more saturated, and added the actual high grass stems everywhere that are catching the sunlight here and there, creating the general feel of sunlit grass and flowers. I think it looks nice enough. Some shadows I added to the hair right here, also then added a bit of the wavy, bigger shadows on the hair in itself, and a lot of grass just sticking out through the hairs here and there, covering up different flowers as well in the direction of the perspective, meaning all the grass, at least I was trying to make it follow this kind of direction everywhere, since the camera is looking directly at this spot. Then all the vertical grass stems should be facing pointing kind of like away from the center, with a lot of deviation from that, obviously, because this is a natural grass. It tends to bend here and there, but yeah, that's the case. So yeah, this is it. I think it looks really nice now with all the flowers. They turned out pretty cool, I think. What do you guys think? So this was the original. Well, obviously it wasn't finished, so without the background it didn't pop really well, but I think it turned out pretty cool in the end. Hopefully this was helpful to look at how to apply the character into the background, and also using shading as a tool to put the character into it, and how to paint a whole lot of flowers in a short period of time. It's been about 2.5 hours for the whole thing. This area feels a bit flat. Let's add some kind of shadow from these bolts. Alright, this is it. Obviously, we could play around with the details, adding accurate hair and grass details everywhere to make it look really, really awesome, adding more like stronger shadows in the grass where it makes sense, especially close to the center of the camera where the grass is sticking out like this, and in between the grass we can see a lot of dark soil with the strong shadow. So next to the character, that's why I kind of started with dark spots all over the character. This is not just the ambient shadow from the character, this is actually more shadow under the grass, revealing at this angle. That's why closer to the center it makes sense to make a darker grass in general. So yeah, tell me guys what you think, ask more questions if something was unclear about how I did it. If you want your artwork to be overpainted like this, the link to my Patreon page is in the end of this video, but keep in mind there's still a pretty big queue of submissions at the moment. We're working on it right now with this overpaint month, and I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe, tell a friend, look really sad while having a very fun outfit, do whatever you want, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!